4 long years, the Great War was over. Now, on BBC One, almost 100 years on, we share emotional stories of the conflict.
Tonight, we're in Étaples, a military cemetery in France, near Boulogne. It's the largest military cemetery of its kind in the country. Welcome to a special edition of the Antiques Roadshow to commemorate the centenary of the end of the First World War. During the First World War, this site was home to the biggest British military base in the world. At its peak, 100,000 troops were housed here, including reinforcements being trained for the battlefield, and thousands of sick and wounded. In 1917, the military hospitals at Étaples received 40,000 casualties every month, many of whom were destined to remain here forever. The sheer scale of this place takes your breath away. 11,000 Commonwealth soldiers and 658 German troops are buried here, each one a much-loved father or brother or son. And the nurses who tried to help them, 20 of them are buried here too. And this is where we'll meet the people who've contacted us to share with us their stories about how their families were affected by the Great War. We received hundreds of responses to our appeal for stories, and tonight we'll bring you just a small selection that provide a more surprising, less familiar insight into the Great War and its aftermath. We've been gathering many of these stories during the summer at our road shows across the country, and tonight some visitors will also be telling the story of a precious item in their own words. And given the very personal nature of the items we're going to be looking at, it doesn't feel right to be providing valuations tonight. We begin our commemoration with two stories about those who brought medical and nursing skills to the field of battle.
When you come to a cemetery like this and you walk amongst the headstones, one of the first things you notice is that there's not just British soldiers here. There are headstones for soldiers from all over the empire. This truly was the Great War, and it truly was the First World War. So who was this gentleman?
This is Nabi Ahmed Siddiqui, my great-grandfather. He was a battlefield surgeon in the First World War.
And these are some of the instruments that he actually used in the trenches.
Yes.
So as a regimental aid post doctor, he's there in the front line. People are being brought into him, covered in mud, weapons, hand grenades, bleeding, screaming. And it's not like an operating theatre at home. It's a mud dugout. And he's got just seconds to use things like this scalpel and these tweezers to save lives in minutes, not hours, minutes. Because once they've cleared that guy, the next one's waiting. And those stretcher bearers are just going to keep on bringing those people down those steps as the shells burst all around him. And it's his job to save lives on the spot instantly. Now, he was up in the trenches as a doctor when he was wounded, wasn't he? What happened to him?
That's right. He went over the top to aid a fallen soldier. And whilst he was treating the soldier, he himself got shot in the back and in the stomach. He managed to drag both himself and the soldier back to safety behind the lines.
Now, I know that for that act, he was awarded the Mention in Dispatches. In around about April 1916, so probably he's up there somewhere in the Ypres salient, that fabled place where the British soldiers fought for so many years. Now, I can tell from his medals that not only did he fight in the First World War, but he's actually an old soldier. So he has the 1914 Star, the British War Medal, the Victory Medal, then we have the Indian Army Long Service and Good Conduct Medal, and then the India Medal, 1895 to 1902, with 3 clasps, so 3 battles that he fought in India, up on the northwest frontier somewhere, or in Burma, wherever it may have taken him during that period. old soldier. What do you know about what happened to him after the war?
Well, stomach wounds were notoriously difficult to heal at the time. He was in his 50s when he fought in the First World War, so he was pensioned off. He went back to India and he got married again, had 7 children, including my grandfather. He lived up till the late 50s. He was nearly 100 when he passed away.
It just shows that when the call came during the Great War and Kitchener said, your country needs you, that echo went out across the whole globe. And men came from every corner to fight for King and the Empire. And your great-grandfather?
That's right, yeah.
Well, at 55, he didn't have to do this. So he has volunteered to come out here to totally alien country for him. Must have been just so different when he came from India to here out in France. And then he's willing to give his services not only in the hospitals but actually up in the front line. And then, bless him, he goes out into no man's land to rescue that one man. So why do you think it's important to remember your ancestor?
Well, apart from the fact that he's been a very brave man, I think there's a long lost time that not many of us really know about now, especially the role that the soldiers from the colonies played in the world wars, especially World War I. And I think it's something important now, in a different time and age, to remember.